Hello, I'm back again with another story from Grammy. This one's called How Brown Mouse Kept Christmas. Here's the picture. You can see a pretty tree and some children. It's Christmas Eve. This book is by Clyde Watson, and the pictures are by Wendy Watson. I bet that's a husband and wife. Well, I just wanted to point out that this story was written, um, a special story that was made up on Christmas Eve one year. It was time for bed, and the man who wrote the story was with his children, and it had started to snow outside, just started to snow, and like some children, like when they go to bed, they wanted a story. And instead of reading from a book, he made one up. He made up a story, a fun story. We like to do that sometimes, don't we? Yeah. So that's what this story was. So he made it up, and apparently the children liked it so much, he decided to make it into a book. And so that's what we've got here. All right. How Brown Mouse Kept Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, and in the big house, the children ran around in bare feet and nighties. They were so excited. They were hanging up their stockings for Santa Claus. The grown-ups stood on chairs to tie doves and angels on the highest branches of the tree. They were decorating it, so they had to reach way up. So usually it's easier for the adults to do the high branches, right? Unless they lift up the children. Anyway, they were decorating, and the children were helping the best they could, and they were so excited. And this family would decorate their tree the night before Christmas, Christmas Eve. Our families usually decorate several weeks ahead of Christmas, so we can enjoy the tree like the whole month of December. And this family did it on Christmas Eve, and here's the pretty picture. You can see they're dressed like clothes that we would have worn a long time ago, before you and I were born, even before Grandma and Grandpa were born. The ladies have the longer dresses on, the men's have the kind of suit, the men, and the kids, looks like most of them are girls because they have night dresses on, but then there's a little boy running around in his outfit. And you can see the stockings at the fireplace and a fire going. Everybody's involved in having fun. And you remember how exciting it is the night before Christmas? You hang up your stockings, and sometimes you get to open one present. Sometimes we have special food to eat, maybe for dinner, and special cookies. We leave out cookies and milk for Santa Claus on a little plate and hope he'll get them. Sometimes we leave Santa a note. And importantly, we also go to church on Christmas Eve if we can. And if we can't, sometimes we have a service together where we sing Christmas songs and talk about when Jesus was born in a manger a long time ago, when God sent him to us for a present. Well, here is the next page. Let's keep reading because this is Christmas Eve still. Someone lit the candles, and Aunt Kate played carols on the piano, and everybody sang along. And after that, the children had to be tucked into bed for the night. They don't have a picture of them singing, but I bet you all know when we say Christmas carols, we're talking about Silent Night, Holy Night, or maybe Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head. We could go on and sing and sing and sing. Joy to the world, or jingle bells, jingle all the way. I know all of you know that one for sure. And deck the halls with balls of holly, fa la 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 la. That's a fun one to sing together, and I bet that was one of them they sang. That song's been around for a long time. Well, anyway, after they sang their songs, they went upstairs to their bedrooms in their house and went to bed. And I think it was sort of like our family does. All the cousins and families were together. The aunts and uncles and cousins and grandma and grandpa all together. And the children went to bed, and some lay awake for a time. And in the stillness of the house, They listened to the curious, peaceful sound of what? They heard mice scampering above them in their attic, the top part of their house where they couldn't reach it, but they knew it was up there on the top part of their house under their roof. And here they are in bed, two in each bed if you can see it. They look nice and cozy, and they took them a while to get to sleep because they were so excited. But as they listened to those mice, they also heard some noises downstairs, and they thought, oh, I wonder what's going on. And it was the mommies and daddies and aunts and uncles cleaning up dishes in the kitchen. And so every now and then they heard like a clink of dishes or glasses or silverware bumping each other and getting put away. And they heard the family, their parents, the grown-ups laughing and having a good time on Christmas Eve. But they knew that they needed to get to sleep, and pretty soon they got sleepier and sleepier, and the snow kept falling outside, and it got thicker and deeper as they slept. Well, meanwhile, up in the attic, the mice were awake. They know all about Christmas time, and that's when the pantry is full of cakes and fruit and spilled sugar. The pantry's like the place where we keep our food, a lot of our food, and in the old days they often had like a whole small room, almost like a big closet full of storage items, and that was their pantry. And the mice, who liked to nibble on food, knew about that. And they knew that Christmas was a time when it was really extra specially full of food because of company coming and Christmas cookies and cakes and traditions and all that. They had also been teasing the cat all day because they wanted to tire her out. The cat is a girl. They wanted to tire her out, so when nap time came, she'd lie down on the hearth and fall into a deep sleep. So they thought, if we keep teasing her, maybe she'll go to sleep and she'll be so tired that she won't want to bother us, because they had some plans for Christmas Eve. What do you think that was? Well, we'll see. There was one quite small mouse named Brown Mouse. That's a good name for a little brown mouse, isn't it? Who had never been down in the people part of the house. He was that young. But he had certainly heard of Christmas, and he wanted to go and see it with the rest of the mice. Now, I'm going to change that to say it's a girl mouse. That little brown mouse is a girl mouse, because that's the only mouse doll I could find was this cute little mouse from Cinderella. She's got on a dress, right? And thread. Let's see if you can see that. A little tiny spool of thread, some measuring tape in her pocket. She was one of the mice. This one is from when one of the girls was in, oh, here's her tail, was in Cinderella, and they had mice for gifts, and we got some. And this is one of them. And so we'll say Brown Mouse is a girl, okay? And she had never been downstairs before, but she knew about Christmas. Here's a picture of the attic, and you can see, if you look really closely, some little mice. Let's see. In the picture, they look kind of dark. They're more like a darker brown or blackish color. Crawling on the suitcases, the steps. A lot of things in your attic are things you don't use very often. Maybe you used to use that suitcase, or it's up there in case you need it for a big trip, but you don't need it all the time. Or maybe some decorations that you don't need anymore. Or something, this is something you would use when you're making clothes. Sewing, to get the idea of the shape of a dress. Well, anyway, they were all busy talking up in the attic. And Brown Mouse knew about Christmas because she'd heard about it. And the other mice were so excited because they knew about it from other times, other Christmases. Well, Brown Mouse, said the other mice, you're pretty small to go down there. What if the cat woke up and saw you? But Brown Mouse pestered and bothered and round until finally the oldest mouse said, all right, Brown Mouse, if you come with us carefully and do what we do, then when the people are asleep, and the cat is too, and the big clock in the hall strikes 12, we will take you downstairs and out through the mouse hole. And there they are, all talking to little Brown Mouse and making their plans. Now they're sitting by what? You probably can, excuse me see real well, but that's a doll in the attic that probably the little girl that used to have it didn't play with it anymore because it was falling apart. And now I bet sometimes the mice nibbled on the cloth because they like to nibble on cloth and shreds of fabric and ribbons and things that they can put in a nice fluffy nest when they're going to have their babies and sleep in there too. So they told Brown Mouse if she followed the directions, she could come down with them. Do you think she was happy? Yay! She was very happy. Brown Mouse was patient, and at last the big clock in the hall struck 12. Bong, 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 bong. That's 12 strikes. That meant it was 12 o'clock midnight. Everybody was asleep. And at last it was time to go down. So under the floor and over the wires and through the walls and along the pipes went the oldest mouse, and Brown Mouse and all the other mice followed and came too. And they went out the mouse hole, a little hole in the wall, across the kitchen floor and into the living room. And there, what a sight they saw. What do you think they saw? Remember what they were all decorating before they went to bed? The people, the adults and the children? They saw this. Now, if you're a little mouse, and mice are very tiny, that tree looks tremendously large, doesn't it? It's huge. And not just an ordinary tree, is it? It's a Christmas tree, and it's decorated with lights and ornaments and tinsel, which is a silvery, ribbony decoration. And if you look real carefully in the bottom of the picture, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mice. Brown mouse is one of the littlest ones. And they're just looking in awe, like, oh, how beautiful. A tall, tall tree, all spicy. Remember that nice smell of a fresh green evergreen tree? It was green, and it hung with hundreds of twinkling, glittering things of all sorts. Red, blue, and gold glass balls or ornaments, and bells as well in different colors, and Santas, and apples, stars, paper chains that the children had made, tiny packages, just tiny little, almost like an ornament decoration that were dangling from threads, and silvery light trembled on each branch. Crisscrossing shadows were cast on the ceiling from all the different lights and shiny ornaments. So they were very excited and really impressed with how beautiful it was. And thankfully, the cat lay dreaming by the coals of the fire, and snowflakes pecked the window outside as they kept on falling, deep and white. Isn't it fun to hear snow? You can't really hear it very well, but unless it's pelting the windows. But if you peek out and you see it floating down, it's just a pretty sight, isn't it? Well, the mice ran in and out among the packages under the tree, in and out and up and down. And all the time they ran amongst the branches, they were sniffing and they were nibbling whenever they found it. Because lots of times people like to decorate, especially back then, with food. Remember I mentioned there were some apples in the tree? Well, those were tasty. And sometimes there was a cookie. Lots of times people like to make cookies and decorate them and hang them as an ornament. Sometimes you add something extra to them to make them more stiff, maybe more hard, but they still taste good to a mouse. So they were leaning into the branches and running up and down and looking everywhere they could find. There was no end of good things to eat. Not just everyday crumbs that might be on the floor like Lucy and Arthur and Lily like to eat, but there was even more exciting treats. Whole lovely cookies and nuts and raisins, and besides that there were treasures that even the smallest mouse could carry, like tinsel ribbons, that's that silvery ribbon I told you about, and red beads and scraps of soft stuff for their nests, and so much more. The other mice knew just what they wanted because they'd been to Christmas before and they remembered how special and what they liked about it, how special it was. But Brown Mouse was so astonished. That means he was just so overwhelmed by all the excitement and the beauty and all the choices to make that he didn't know where to begin. So he just kept scampering all over the room, sniffing, nibbling, and exploring. It's sort of like if you go to a store at Disney World and your mom says, pick one thing. Is that easy to do? When the whole store is full of fun and exciting toys and games and you have to pick one that's the best. That's kind of hard to do. But since he had time, she had time, Brown Mouse scurried around looking for the best things that she could find, not only to eat, but maybe something to take with her. She scurried up onto the piano and she ate a candied cherry that was left on a plate they forgot to wash. Then she ran down inside the piano to look for more. And her little mouse feet on the strings of the keys made a faint little dee-dee sound, but mice are so light that it didn't make enough noise to wake up anybody in the house. And up on top of the fireplace on the mantelpiece, she played in the quivering tangle of light and shadows from the tree. And she darted in among the branches and she tasted some sugar plums, which is like sweets, and ginger flavored elves. That means they were elves made out of something you could eat. And at the bottom of the tree, she met a doll. And the doll sat there with a smile on her face and she stared at him with green glass eyes. That was probably a present for one of the little girls. She even found a tiny gold hoop down in a crack in front of the fireplace. A wonderful Christmas toy just her size that rolled and spun and sparkled as she chased it around the room. A ring that would be small and tiny for a mouse to play with, but would look bigger to a human, right? She had fun with that, but just then she heard the cat mumbling in her sleep. And she turned over a little bit, and Brown Mouse dropped the golden hoop and ran away. She didn't want to get caught by that cat. You know what cats do to mice? Yikes. Well, I think I showed you all those pictures. Oh, nope, I forgot to show you on the piano. That's inside the piano. You can see her touching some of the strings of the keys and on the keys, and then here's some crumbs. This gives you an idea. Yeah, she's on the strings there. Okay, well, all night long, the snow sifted down and piled in drifts outside the windows of the house, while the mice made trips in and out of the mouse hole, back and forth from the Christmas tree to their home in the attic. They would gather something pretty, put it in their teeth, and scamper back up to their nest in the attic, drop it there, zip back down, and come back and get something else, or nibble on something else. And it kept them busy all night, taking bits of things with them every time they went. And they didn't even think it was strange at all when, who's there? Who comes on Christmas Eve after we're all asleep? After he's sure we're all asleep? Santa Claus. They didn't think it was strange at all when an older, white-haired man came down the chimney in the middle of the night and tiptoed around, putting secrets into stockings and talking nicely to the cat. They didn't even worry about it because they knew about Christmas Eve. They knew Santa came on Christmas Eve, and so they didn't get shocked when they saw him. They weren't scared. They just kind of watched him and enjoyed what a nice guy he was. And when the big clock in the hall told them what time it was, remember it was bong when it went off and I was counting? Now it's going to go off the time of 5 o'clock. Bong, 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 bong. 5 bongs. That means it's 5 o'clock, the night was nearly over, and it was time for the mice to leave because the people would be getting up soon and the sun would be coming up soon. We have to go now, Brown Mouse, said the oldest mouse. So pick something special to bring with you. For Brown Mouse, she'd been so busy all night that she hadn't carried a single thing up to the attic because she was just having so much fun in that Christmas room there in the house. Hurry up, whispered the other mice. Hurry up, take something and come, hurry. So there telling her, hurry up, hurry up. There she is. And she sees some pretty tinsel, this silvery stuff from the tree. So she grabs that because it's really pretty. So Brown Mouse nipped up a piece of tinsel and headed for the mouse hole with the rest of the mice. But when she reached, all of them reached the kitchen door, Brown Mouse turned around and paused. And there on the sill, right near the mouse hole, she looked back at the Christmas tree with its shimmering lights and lacy shadows, and the doll with the glass green eyes, and the cat sleeping on the fireplace hearth. Oh, she just looked at it one more time because it was so special. And then she went squeak and whisked across the floor, up with the other mice, for she didn't want to be the last one through the mouse hole. She went really fast and got in the mouse hole so she could go up to the attic. Well, by Christmas morning, the snow had stopped and the world was brilliant in the sun. Remember how pretty it is when the sun is shining and there's white snow all over the ground and the trees and the houses and everywhere you look? Well, that's what it was like. And so everybody looked out the windows. They saw the sun was up. You remember what happens on Christmas morning? They have to wait, go down together, and see the tree and the presents. The cat woke up and stretched. We do that sometimes when we get up, and I know our doggies do too. And then the children came down to the Christmas tree when the mommies and daddies and aunts and uncles said it was okay. And everything looked so perfect. Look at the beautiful sight. When they went to bed, the tree was there, and it was beautiful, but now there's presents too. And you know what they did? They went, oh, can you do that? Open your mouth and look surprised. Oh, they were so excited. Remember how excited you get on Christmas morning when you see the tree and all the gifts? Same thing. But when they started looking closer, they did notice a few odd details. One of the cute little ginger elves in the tree had its boots nibbled off. How'd that happen? And there were crumbs on the sofa. That means the couch, by the way. Crumbs on the couch. There was tinsel, that silvery ribbon, in the kitchen. But the tree was in the living room. How did it get in the kitchen? And there was a coffee cake sitting out for breakfast, and it was missing some cherries. A cherry or two had been plucked out of the coffee cake where they were supposed to be. And the strangest thing of all, you know what? On the front of the fireplace, which we call the hearth, was Mother's wedding ring, a little gold band or circle or hoop that would fit a mommy's hand. It had been lost for months, and Mommy had given up looking for it because she couldn't find it. And there it was. How did that happen? Now, how do you explain that, they all wondered. They were scratching their heads. What do you think happened? Why did all those things happen, and why did that little hoop show up? You know, the mice did it. And that little brown mouse had found that little hidden golden ring that had been missing because she was exploring, and mice are tiny and they can get in cracks and places that adults can't always see. She didn't know she'd helped out the mommy and helped her find her lost ring. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? It worked out nice for both. Well, after breakfast, the children went outdoors to try their Christmas sleds. I can't remember if I showed you this picture. I don't think I did. That's when they're all discovering their presents. You know what that looks like on Christmas morning. Opening, sharing, talking, laughing, playing, nibbling on snacks that you might have got in your stocking from Santa. And then after breakfast, because it had snowed outside, what do you think the kids did? They went outside to play. And one of their special things they wanted to play with was their Christmas sleds. They had gotten new Christmas sleds for Christmas presents, and they wanted to try it on the new snow. So they went out and did that and made snow angels and snowmen and threw some snowballs carefully and had a lot of fun. And the cat sat on the window ledge washing her fur. You know how kitties like to lick themselves to get clean. And up in the attic, and she also kept an eye on the kids too. And up in the attic, what do you think the mice were doing? They were tired after a busy night because they usually sleep more in the daytime. And after after a long night of feasting and merrymaking, there was a particularly cute little small brown mouse that was fast asleep with sugar on her whiskers. And there is the picture. If you look really close, laying amongst some toys and an evergreen little piece of branch and some ribbons and balls and decorations, is a mouse, all curled up in a little ball, sort of like our doggies like to curl up into. Sound asleep with some sugar on her whiskers. Why was that? Because she nibbled on some sweets, didn't she? And that's the end. It just shows some of the things the mice gathered because they picked things that were small that they could easily carry. Decorations and cherries and tinsel, branches, all kinds of things to make their attic look cute for Christmas and comfortable for their nests and yummy for their tummies. Well, that's the end of the story. How Brown Mouse kept Christmas. And I hope you liked it. See you later, friends. Love you.